This video is sponsored by PotownStore.com, the best place to get yourself some TCGO code cards. They have a huge variety of codes up on their website, reaching from Eternatus, Zacian, League Battle decks, you name it. Use the coupon code ZAPDOSTCG for 5% off your next order. Also, this video is sponsored by cardmarket.com. This is a European platform that I personally use every day, and you can sell cards as well as buy cards from people all across Europe, and it's very easy to use. So definitely check the website out by using the affiliated link in the description below. You're gonna be helping me out a ton. What's up YouTube, it's ZAPDOSTCG here and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the current meta game. That's right, the standard format has developed quite a bit with Vivid Voltage, and I'm actually having an updated list on the top 10 best decks in the format. We already did a very similar video like this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but this time around it's going to be an updated list, and this is all based on objective tournament results. So as you can see, from Hexter tournaments, from Sunday Opens, Crollo tournaments, the $500 cash, $3,000 cash tournaments, Hyperlux, anything, the coffee cup. So as you can see, based on all these tournament results, there's a whole lot of tournaments that happened during the Vivid Voltage metagame. So as you can see, I put them all down into one Excel sheet, and today we're actually going to be showcasing which decks did perform better than in the early weeks of Vivid Voltage, and which decks actually are definitely the best in the format. So we're going to be checking this out. So we have, of course, this is a very crazy thing. We're also going to be showcasing all the deck lists. So if you guys are looking for deck lists, this is also the video for you. So if you guys are hyped for this video, be sure to let me know by destroying that like button, as it helps on the channel more than you would possibly think, and more viewers are going to be able to watch the video because of the recommendations of the YouTube analytics. So as you can see, there's even some rogue decks that I actually put down here. So we're actually going to be talking about which decks actually appeared in the format, which decks actually dropped off the radar, what actually happened in the format during Vivid Voltage. So as you can see, standard format that has teamed up all the way to Vivid Voltage, and as we can see, PikaRom actually made it all the way to the best deck in the format once again. I know, it's ridiculous. Everybody wrote PikaRom off ever since the big VMAXs came to town. But now PikaRom has established quite the number of first placements. As you can see, 20 first placements during the Vivid Voltage meta, and that's just crazy. PikaRom is busted. So we're going to be showcasing a list very shortly. PikaRom, a very slight uptick in play. It came from like second place to first place, if I'm not mistaken. And then ADP dropped down to second place. So as you can see, these are the statistics right now. Even though ADP does have 103 placements in top 8, it only won 12 tournaments in total, and PikaRom just dominates that by a long shot, almost doubling the amount of first place winning performances thanks to PikaRom. We're also going to be showcasing a pie chart very shortly, and now we're going to go over to the deck list. All very solid deck lists for sure. So if you're looking for a deck to play, this is the video for you. So as we can see, Eternatus just sticked around there on the third spot here as being the third best deck in the format. There's also two variants of Eternatus that we're going to be discovering here. There's also Blacephalon still hanging on to that fourth spot, barely like outshining Centiskorch VMAX as the best fire deck in the format. We're going to be talking about a new deck, a new fire deck, flying its way and all the way to the 8th spot in the top 10 right now, and it was previously not found at all. So Blacephalon, the reason why it's higher than Centiskorch is that it wins more tournaments. As simple as that. Even though like Centiskorch does get played like 54 times in the top 8 and does get into top 4 like almost half of that time, Blacephalon just sometimes wins the entire event, and Centiskorch has a little bit of trouble doing that. LucMetal also saw a little uptick in play. So from the 41 players that got into top 8, there was more than half of them going into top 4. So they go deep into the tournament whenever they're being played. So that's very nice to see. Mewtwo Lightning was very dominant. This is the deck that Tord Radcliffe and Pedro Torres actually put on the map thanks to Player Cup 2. has saw a decrease in play nowadays. People are running the MewMew in certain decks. Think about the Decidueye, Coalossal. So Mewtwo not doing too much of havoc, but still hanging on to the 7th spot. Then we have Zard. This is a new deck that actually came, I don't know if it was from Omnipoke that posted a video about Zard being good, and then everybody started playing it, or it was somebody did very well with it and people started copying that deck list. Anyhow, Zard is good. It has a favorable matchup against PikaRom and ADP, and those are the best decks in the format, so that's why it is very good right now. It will see more increase in play, so probably going to dig to that 5th placement if I'm being honest. Zard very good, but only like the last couple of weeks Zard is being played, and I already won 2 events, and there was 15 placements in top 8 in total, so that's crazy. Decidueye Obstagoon, slight uptick. Everybody thought like Decidueye Obstagoon, Aegislash is round, people will not play that anymore, but nothing more is true. Decidueye still having auto wins against PikaRom, sometimes against Eternatus, against Blacephalon if they are not playing Ordinary Rod and multiple Crown Rans or something. So Decidueye Obstagoon still very good, and then we have the 10th spot going to Coalossal VMAX. Saw a decrease in play, that's very strange. I do love Coalossal VMAX quite a bit, but it did see a lot of decline in play, even though it has like, if it wins the favorable match against PikaRom, that is not always the case because PikaRom now also sometimes runs Mewtwo in their list, so I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Coalossal. Still one of my favorite decks from Vivid Voltage that came out of it for sure, but it's not performing as I would have expected. Then also Mad Party saw an uptick in play. Now we're going to the rogue category. That is not in the top 10 at all. We have Mad Party seeing an increase. We have Exeggutor, Alone Exeggutor, and Rowlet Tag Team GX with Rillaboom seeing an increase in play. Control saw some play, as well as the Seeking deck that came out of nowhere, and then a Turbozation also doing some funky stuff. All the rest, decline in play, are not worth mentioning at all. Dragapult also just nowhere to be found at all. It is very strange. Dragapult, like, remember the days of the Rebel Clash format when Dragapult was the best deck in format. Now it actually dropped down to like the 14th best deck in format. Insane. So talking about like the popularity of decks, as we can see in this pie chart, the most popular deck of all is, of course, this ADP Zacian deck. It is this is a pie chart only talking about the popularity of decks. ADP Zacian, the most popular deck in town, and then we have PikaRom 2nd placement, and then it is divided by Centiskorch, Blacephalon, and Eternatus as popular decks in the format. We have, of course, the decks that got 1st place. This is a very important pie chart because it's totally different. Like, even though ADP Zacian is the most dominant and is most around, the one that takes the victory most of the time is PikaRom with a 32%, which is crazy. PikaRom is winning a lot of tournaments, followed up by ADP Zacian. Baby Blacephalon also winning a ton of tournaments. So in that ranking, like then it's going to be like which decks are the best to actually win tournaments, like PikaRom, ADP, Baby Blacephalon. Very strange pie chart comparison with the popularity chart. Okay, now that we got all the data out of the way, and as we can conclude that PikaRom is now the best deck in the format once again, proven by results, we're going to be checking out some deck lists, shall we? Okay, we're going to be starting it off with none other than Coalossal, one of my favorite decks from Vivid Voltage. This is a deck 10. This is the 10th spot here, going to Coalossal VMAX. And what I can say about Coalossal VMAX is that its typing is great. You can one-hit KO Crobats, the Dane GXs. That's also the reason why there's a great catcher in here, as well as Fiona and stuff. It's very nice to see. Also against other decks like Eternatus VMAX and PikaRom, you can just one-hit KO them, which is very, very solid indeed, because those decks are still in the top 5, PikaRom as well as Eternatus. So this is a very solid deck list indeed. I do love the fact there's also a MewMew thrown in here. Otherwise, against Mewtwo, you like have to like two-shot, and then they use something like their Incineroar Tag Team actually Incineroar GX move. Bam, out of nowhere you get one shot at. So that's something you don't want to see. So this is a very solid list. You use Oranguru's Primed Wisdom to put, of course, an energy on top of the deck, and then you can use that Eruption Shot, slapping for 130 and accelerate that energy. Very solid list with Stone Fighting Energies and as well as Crushing Hammer. So Crushing Hammer seems to be like a repeating thing in these top 10 lists. So we're going to be figuring that out very shortly. So there's also, because this list is running Switches and Air Balloons, there's also one copy of Jirachi from, of course, Vivid Voltage, the amazing star Jirachi, to, of course, have some extra outs against stuff like Marnie. Okay. Because the good news is, like, with Jirachi, you can take a card and then the other card goes back on top of the deck. So that could be a very nice synergy with Oranguru as well to, of course, dig for that energy on top of the deck. Alright, moving forward, we're going to be talking about the Decidueye Obstagoon, still around, and the latest variants of course, this kind of a deck. They are now running Snorlax as the main engine. As you can see here, They are running Snorlax with the Gorman dice, drawing cards until they have 7 in the hand. They have, of course, the different variants of Rowlet. The Rowlet is also able to snipe for some damage, of course, with the high amount of Birdkeeper. Birdkeeper also very nice synergy with the Snorlax to get it out of the active position. So it is relying on aromatic grass energy, so they cannot get affected by special conditions, which previous, like Poison Eternatus, had a favorable matchup against Decidueye. Now that is not the case anymore, thanks to that special grass energy. And this is just very consistent all around. You use Gorman dice, slap some of your Pokemon down. You can use Capture Energy to find your Snorlax and then immediately retreat into it, because Rowlet has a 1 retreat cost, as well as Zigzagoon. So that is going to be awesome. Also your tech cards, in the sense, Fion, Mimikyu, and Mew also have a 1 retreat cost. The only one that doesn't have a 1 retreat cost is Mewtwo and Snorlax. But if you start with Snorlax, it's good in the first place. So a very nice list altogether. There is 2 Ordinary Rods and only 2 Darkness Energy. So you have to be careful when to time your Obstruct attack, because otherwise you will be running out of Darkness Energies. But nevertheless, Obstruct is winning games, definitely against ADP Zacian that is not running Aegislash. If the players are not respecting the Decidueye at all, they will probably lose against this archetype. So 9th place, going for the Decidueye, very nice indeed. Next up, we're gonna have Tempo Zard. This is a deck that actually surprised everybody. Tempo Zard. As mentioned, Omnipoke put it on the map, and this is going to be saying, like, we need Welder on the first turn, we need a Strike on the first turn. So that's why there's 4 copies of Pokegear in here, there's 3 copies of Jirachi Stellar Witch, there's 2 Dedenne GX, and there's even a Crobat. So you can draw through your deck until you find your Welder. That's the main concern here. If you Welder, this list is not running on something like Volcanion, so against stuff like the Decidueye, you will have a very hard time. So maybe you could cut down on certain cards, maybe cut down on Giratina, maybe cut down on 1 Cramorant, and adding 2 Volcanion could be a way out if you're respecting the Decidueye matchup. Other than that, it's very solid indeed. We have Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff now having an include in this list to have an answer against the Mewtwo decks, as well as PikaRom, which are still around. PikaRom, the best deck in the format, as based on tournament results, so it's only logical that the Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff slides back into the list here with Jumping Balloon. Very similar list to the one that was played in Brazil, I think, the Latin American Internationals back like a long time ago, where we could play like real life events. Remember that one? So what can you see? 2 Cramorants. So Cramorant seeing also more and more play. So maybe people could be tacking in more Mews in their list, because as mentioned, the PikaRom is still the best deck in the format now, and there's also the other things you can block yourself with the Mew, for instance, Tag Ball Jacks and Cramorant. So maybe people will run more copies of Mew, or actually tack in a Mew in their list. I personally, I'm thinking about it and putting it in my Browns list for sure. Not only the Psy Power is good from the Mew, but still, I'm actually going off track a little bit here. So what we want to do here is like Welder onto Reshizard, following turn, go for Double Blaze GX, 300 damage. There's Galarian Zigzagoon Ping. So even if stuff like an ADP has Big Charm, it is not a problem. The only problem with this kind of approach is that the opponent could be running Crushing Hammers, and then you're gonna be late. So that's why it's also good to like Welder and then go immediately on the offensive and slap for Double Blaze on an ADP. That's also nice, so you can finish the job with Flare Strike. So I prefer doing that more. There's 2 Bossazors in here, and it is relying on the Scoop Up Net engine. So unless you want to resort to like Eldigos instead, that's also fine. Also, 2 Reset Stamp seems to be very crazy, because Dubwool in the late game is like a machine and hits like a truck. So that's very nice against stuff like the Zacians to finish off. So very nice list for sure. Also, the buffed Soft Wool ability is actually pretty nice, because that means that people will have to slap 240 damage to knock out a Dubwool, which is sometimes very hard, because as I mentioned, Flare Strike of a Charizard only slaps 230. So the Dubwool, pretty tanky for sure, and I do love this list a lot. There's also like the Giratina in here with Dimension Breach. You are running Scoop Up Net, so you can get rid of special energies. For instance, against Mewtwo, you can get rid of their Aurora energy. Against, yeah, maybe other decks, you can get rid of the Capture energy. Definitely against stuff like Eternatus, if they're running Hiding Dark energy and stuff, could be definitely an interesting thing for sure. Cramorant also taking prize cards on the Dane, or even stuff. I've seen this working out against Crobat as well, with of course Galarian Zigzagoon Ping. So very, very solid indeed. So that is going to be our number 8 spot. Number 7 goes to none other than Mewtwo Lightning. This is running on the Bolton. You use Bolton to use the Electrify, and then the Electrify accelerates energies to your Pokemon. You have, of course, Mewtwo, or your main attacker, and with Aurora Energy, you can actually strike either with like the attack, the massive Bloom attack of Vileplume, 180, not bad to start off with, which you can also use on the first turn thanks to Tapu Koko Prism Star. You can also like buy yourself a turn by using Poltergeist, actually Horror House GX. That means the opponent is not able to play down any cards from their hand during the following turn, so you have another attachment, and that could be the game-changing scenario against stuff like Eternatus, because you can actually make sure you have 2 Aurora Energy attachments, and then you can use Galarian Surfetch V to fly into the active position and take big KOs. Also works out against PikaRom as well, fighting type Pokemon here, absorbing the Aurora Energies and going on the offensive. Chaotic Swell, we see there's a lot of decks playing Chaotic Swell right now. So if you're a fire deck, you might also consider thinking about Marshadow to get rid of the Chaotic Swells. As mentioned, this is just a straight, consistent list. You also have Venom Shot of the Naganadal being able to one-hit KO in the late game. Stuff like the Dedenne GX. There's not a Galarian Zigzagoon in here, so you can only KO the Dedenne GX with it, or just slap 117, whatever you want. As seen in here, also 4 Marnies and 2 reset stamps. So Mewtwo just wants to electrify, put the opponent to a low hand size, and then in the late game you strike for huge damage. Okay, moving forward, 6th placement goes to LucMetal Zacian. Saw a little increase in play, and this LucMetal Zacian, of course, Zamazenta walls off Eternatus completely. Although they could be running the poison variant, sometimes that is not enough, because sometimes you can use Zacian to knock out Galarian Slowbro V and it's over with. So Zamazenta then walling off the entire matchup is crazy. We have some Lily's Pokédolls in here, Crushing Hammers. Crushing Hammers in combination with, of course, Mellow Lana is going to be awesome, because Crushing Hammer slowing them down. If they slap a little bit of damage, you can heal it off completely with Mellow and Lana. You can also find that easily thanks to the Tackle engine. And this is a list with 4 Zacians, so you can definitely rely on Intrepid Sword time and time again if you don't have anything to work with. I've also seen, like, with the 4 switches, it's nice to, like, early game switch to a Lily's Pokédoll and then Intrepid Sword so you don't get damaged instantly. So I do love the list a lot, because there's a lot of things possible. LucMetal Zacian, Full Metal Wall GX will make sure 30 less damage for the rest of the games on all of your metal type Pokemon. In combination with the 4 Metal Goggles, the opponent will slap 60 reduction, and that is definitely great in combination with the high amount of Mellow and Lana in here. We also don't have to worry about the fire matchup. With 4 freaking copies of Metal Coating Energy, your weakness is gone as well. And also, thinking about it, the Giratina, now that I think about it, talking about that, the Tempo Zard here, they actually put in the Giratina as for the LucMetal Zacian matchup as well. So this is going to be LucMetal Zacian on number 6. Number 5, Centiskorch, just remaining on that solid 5th placement, and nothing has changed a lot, but people has resort to, like, scoop up nets in this kind of a build. Scoop up net with, of course, the Giratina, getting rid of the Metal Coating Energy, Aurora Energy, Hiding Dark Energy, etc. Lots of special energies being played right now, and the only thing we are concerned about is using Flare Starter onto our Centiskorch, following turn going to Centiskorch VMAX, weldering onto it, and just exploding on everyone with Centiskorch VMAX. That's the main thing it goes for, and this is a list that also resorts to, like, Fion. So sometimes you cannot KO the active Pokemon. You can, of course, Fion to make sure you can KO something on the bench. That's very interesting. Definitely against ADP Zacian sometimes. They have, like, a Zacian and a Dedenne, which you can both KO. So sometimes Fion can be the game-changing winner in a matchup like that. Also, Heatran GX can absorb all the fire energies in play if you switch it to the active position and then go for a huge one-hit KO. You have a great catcher, 2 boss, and an Eldegoss to get the balls back. So very solid list. Nothing I would change personally. This is a great 60 to start off with Centiskorch VMAX. Number 4, going to my favorite deck of all time, it is Blacephalon. Blacephalon, very great deck. Very solid to see the Rashizard and the Cramorant sticking in here, because the Charizard will make sure you have a better matchup against ADP. So you can just do the same approach as the Tempo Zard, just going for Welder onto Charizard, and then the following turn you can just just one-hit KO the ADP. Or just go for the 2-shot. It doesn't matter too much. Cramorant can one-hit KO, of course, the Dennis or Crobats, because this list is also running Galarian Zigzagoon. As mentioned, they are respecting Kydex well, so there is a Marshadow include in here. And they stepped away from like 19 energy or something, and they actually included energy retrievals instead. And this is a very solid list. Nothing I would change at all. This is probably the 60 I'm playing most of the time. So like 4 copies of Blacephalon, so you always are able to sometimes start with it, so you can blow up on opponents. Also, if you are a little bit like me and thinking about, oh, these decks are the best decks in the format, maybe try and sniff in maybe 2 copies of Beastbringer, if you find the room for it. Maybe you cut down 1 energy retrieval, maybe you cut down the Great Ball and add in 2 Beastbringer. Maybe that could be the game-changing scenario, but that's just my personal playstyle, taking multiple prize cards on big tag team Pokemon, which are still very dominant in the format for sure. Okay, next up, third placement spot, going to Eternatus. There's two variants. We're gonna be talking about the poison variant first. This is Eternatus with, of course, Galarian Slowbro V and a 3/3 line of Toxicroak. This Toxicroak approach will make sure that Eternatus can hit the one-hit KO numbers on any tag team if you can get more Toxicroaks out. For every Toxicroak, you can actually put 2 additional damage counters for the poison, so that's awesome. For 2 of these out, there's going to be poison damage for 5 damage counters. That's 320. So stuff like Centiskorch definitely needs to worry about, like the poison shenanigans. As mentioned, against the Decidueye, you have an auto loss because you cannot poison them at all thanks to the aromatic energy. Some people are also taking an Yveltal for stuff like that, but yeah, not working out too much in my experience. So very solid list. Capture energy is very nice to find yourself your Krogongs, and you have Dark City to freely move around. That's also the reason there's one Hoopa in here. That could be sometimes your dunking machine. Sometimes you can dunk the Decidueye. That's also sometimes a game-winning scenario. And this is also running 4 copies of Bulbasaur. So just to put that into consideration, that's a lot in an Eternatus list. Then there's also the variant with, of course, Scoop Up Nets. Although I don't see any Scoop Up Nets in here, but this is running the Galarian Zigzagoon approach. So 3 Zigzagoons, 3 Spiritombs, and even a Yveltal. So this does have an out against the Decidueye. You also have Dangerous Drill, which is able to discard a special energy, which is definitely amazing and a certain amount of matchups. We have Power Plant, 3 copies of that. That means stuff like the Dene GX, Heatran GX, all that plays cannot come into fruition because of the high amount of Power Plant and the high amount of Marnie. So just going straight offensively with Eternatus. I'm a little bit scared and with the opponents playing Crushing Hammer, but if they whiff the Crushing Hammer, you are just on a roll with Eternatus and you one-shot anything in the game. That's how good the deck is. Also love the 1 copy of Great Catcher in here. Okay, now second best deck in the format. Could you believe it? ADP is not the first placement deck in this list anymore. We have, of course, this is a solid list. 3 Big Charms, of course, making sure your Pokemon get more tanky. Definitely your ADP, having 310 HP is a lot to handle, and this list is just pure consistency. 3 copies of the Water type energy as well as 2 energy spinners, and then there's, of course, your access to the Intrepid Sword as well as Research and the Dene GX and Crobat. So this is just one of the perfect 60s Tool Scrapper, respecting other matchups. For instance, the LucMetal, you can get rid of their metal goggles, which is definitely necessary. And also this list is running Air Balloon, so you can keep using your Brave Blade time and time again, switching around. So do love the list. I'm not sure about the Zamazenta if it is necessary at all, because Eternatus, sometimes you can win without it just by relying on Mawile and the huge amount of boss. So sometimes you can just get rid of the Zamazenta and add in a 4 copy of Zacian. That's what I would do. But hey, that's just me. But other than that, the list looks pretty fine. Energy switches, so you sometimes can get that first turn Ultra Creation. It happens from time to time. 3 Cherish Ball, 4 Quick Ball, so very consistent nevertheless. And we're going to be seeing if ADP is still the best deck in the format after a couple of weeks. Then first place winning the best deck in the format right now is PikaRom. They opted to go for 3 Boltund, very similar to the Player Cup 2 list from Zach Lesage from, this is very interesting for sure. 3 copies of Boltund, and there's 2 copies of Mewtwo, so they are respecting the fact that some people can one-hit KO PikaRom rather easily, so instead of relying on Big Charms, which don't always help because people are running stuff like Tool Scrapper, they just resort to like Electrify on Mewtwo, put PikaRom in the discard pile and just attack with the perfection, thanks to the perfection ability, using the full blitz on the PikaRom. So yeah, that's gonna be fantastic. Mewtwo is the main attacker sometimes in the PikaRom list, so you can either go for PikaRom or Mewtwo, and there's 1 copy of the Raichu and Lauren Raichu in here, of course, for the Tandem Shock, very powerful indeed. 4 Crushing Hammers, 2 Chaotic Swell, and 4 Marnie is very disruptive, and I didn't even talk about the reset stamps here, 2 reset stamp as well. So what would I change about this list? Not a lot, but I definitely would go for 4 Speed Lightning Energy. I understand they downed it out a little bit because Mewtwo is the main attacker, so maybe like cutting down on 1 Mewtwo and adding in a Speed Lightning Energy would be my personal preference, but yeah, this is fine as it is. PikaRom, best deck in the format. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the quick run through of an update in the meta game. If you did, be sure to let me know by destroying that like button. Also, be sure to check out my sponsors. We have, of course, cardmarket.com. If you're a European player, you can actually buy cards and sell cards to people all across Europe. And also check out my other sponsor, PokedownStore.com. They are wonderful. You can get your TCGO code cards on there. Maybe you're looking for a League Battle deck. Maybe you're looking for Mewtwo codes, Eternatus codes. Zacian code. You can create your personal deck of choice thanks to using the coupon codes. You have every powerful Pokemon promo card you want up on stock, and you can use the coupon code TCG for 5% of your next order. Anyhow, have yourself a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video very shortly. Peace!